Welcome to all. Today I am starting the lecture of 16th February to 23rd February 2023. This Fact Plus series will cover the all important GK newses that have been happened in between these 10 years, 16th February and 23rd February of 23. Okay, let me clear the things that the Fact Plus series is always targeting to cover the facts that are important from exam point of view, but this is not actually identifies any types of personal opinion. So this series is completely based on information. So let's start the series and let's start the lecture. First we come to the news that belongs to the appointment section. And here is the facts to remember, that the name of the person and his designation and the appointment has been done in which company. So, online video streaming platform YouTube's CEO Susan Wojcicki replaced by PIO Neil Mohan. Okay, let me describe the thing, that person of Indian origin Neil Mohan has been appointed as YouTube CEO, the popular browsing and also a video streaming platform, that is YouTube, and he replaced the existing CEO Susan Wojcicki. So this belongs to the appointment section, and let me read the news once. Indian American Neil Mohan will be the new CEO of Google's video division YouTube, replacing Susan Wojcicki. Next, come to the another news. The next news is covering one military exercise. Various types of military exercises are important from exam point of view, as we frequently have confronted those types of questions in our MCQ tests, and our neighboring countries are very important regarding that. So it's very important to cover up the military exercise with which then our neighboring countries are associated. So neighboring country Japan. So it is an exercise between India and Japan Army. The purpose of the exercise is to boost the interoperability and strengthen their warfare skill. And the most important thing is to cover up the venue where the exercise is being conducted. The name of the exercise is Dharma Karjan, to practice the military emergency requirement and make the military forces equipped with the real-time actions. And so this type of exercise has been conducted, and the exercise Dharma Karjan this time will be held at Camp Imaju in Shiga province of Japan, and the tenure of the exercise is 17 Feb to 2nd March. Here is another important point is to the edition of the exercise, and this time the edition is 4th. India's contingent to take part in this exercise was Garhwal Rifles. That means there are many types of contingent in our military domain or army domain, and this time the Garhwal Rifles will take part in the Dharma Karjan exercise. Another contextual news is that recently one type of exercise between India and Japan has been conducted, and this is very relevant to this news as the same country is involved here, and this exercise name is quite more similar with the former exercise name, and this exercise is Veer Garjan. India and Japan had conducted the inaugural edition of the Veer Garjan. So we can easily think about the point that this exercise was held for the first time. So it's inaugural edition. For the first time, it was happened between India and Japan. And this exercise name is Veer Garjan, and it's an air combat exercise, and it was happened at Hyakuri and Iruma air bases in Japan last month. So this is also happened in the same country, Japan. Then we come to a obituary related news, and this segment is also important from exam point of view. And the famous persons and legendary persons obituary has been frequently seen in the MCQ questions paper in the competitive exam. So we should keep in mind some obituary section news. And here is the fact to remember is the legendary person's name is Tulsidas Balaram, the last of India's golden trio, and the trio means that that legendary persons Chuni Goswami related to the football field and also P.K. Banerjee and this person Tulsidas Balram were called as a trio, and he was a legendary football player. So we can associate the name that Tulsidas Balaram is related to which field. Then we can easily say that he belongs to football field or saucer. Football is also called as saucer. So saucer field. This dignitary persons belong to this field, and two-time Olympian and a key member of the Indian squad that won the 1962 Asian Games football gold. So, for which event he was properly remembered about. So, this event name should also be remembered that 1962 Asian Games football gold tournament was a pivotal role he played actually in this Asian Games. Next, there is a news that is the very important in respect of women workforce participation. And why it is important? Because we are encouraging that more and more women participate in the workforce by overcoming their uneasiness in the workforce domain. And how this can be covered easily if some relevant or helpful policies have taken place to make them feel easier in their workplaces. So this time, the Spanish Parliament have approved paid menstrual leave for workers, the first country in Europe to do so. So Spain is the first country that has already approved a paid menstrual leave for workers. And why it is targeted? It is targeted to get a relief to the women workers and to get them more encouragement to participate in the mainstream workforce. And in the context of this news, we can also say very recently, the Supreme Court instructed the central government to come up with such a policy targeted the menstrual leave system for the students and workforce in our India. So this actually empowers the women to more participate in the workforce. And recently, the Supreme Court provided these types of guidelines to the center that we should also come up with such a policy to make some amendment and to also to proceed the Women and Child Development Ministry to think about the point that paid menstrual leave should be provided to our of workers, women workers, and also the students to make them encourage more and more to take part in our workforce. And also there is another relevant point that we should remember that recently or already there are two states that are providing these types of menstrual leave system, and the two states are Kerala and Bihar. Next, come to a news of Finance Plus. Why it's Finance Plus section? In the Finance Plus section, we try to ponder about some points that are very frequently come into our exam. So 165 IBC liquidation cases saw 94% asset value erosion since 2016. So this news is not much more important, but the term IBC is very much important. If we proceed to give any banking exams or insurance exams, we can frequently confronted with some financial terms. So we should know about those financial terms in depth, in a very in-depth manner. That is the facts to remember that what is IBC? IBC stands for Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and it was passed in 2016. The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 IBC is an Indian law. It's an Indian law which creates a consolidated framework that governs insolvency and bankruptcy proceedings for companies, partnership firms, and individuals. When a firm or a company is going to winding up, then insolvency and bank this procedure will be taken place under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of India. So prior to the IBC, the legislative framework for insolvency and restructuring was fragmented across multiple legislations, such as the Companies Act 2013, the Sikh Industrial Companies or Special Provisions Act. Why it's Sikh Industrial Companies? Because those companies are come into the act to make them liquefied, as they cannot proceed with their company infrastructure, and they are going to actually end their company. They are actually going to the verge of extinction of their company structure. So this under the Sikh Industrial Companies Special Provision Act 1985, Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act 2002, this IBC also taken place. What is the Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act 2022? Under this act, which company is very ill to formulate their ongoing process or in the verge of extinction, they actually try to revitalize themselves by reconstructing their assets so that they can again alive. And under the Act of Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act, the whole process can be taken place. Next, come to a environment basis news, and this is very important from Bengal exam perspective. Recently, water quality improves. 4 Bengal rivers go out of Central Board's pollution list. Why it is in news? Because before these types of 3 or 4 rivers come into the pollution, under pollution come into the ambit of the polluted river list. So the facts to remember is, first let's read the news. 4 major rivers in Bengal were excluded from the Central Pollution Control Board's draft report on country's most polluted river stretches after make improvement in water quality. The 4 rivers were under the polluted river list, and now they have already improved the river quality, so they come out of the list. Kaljani River is one of the river, and Kaljani River is a tributary of Torsha River, originated in Bhutan at the foothills of the Himalayas, and it flows from north to south via Bhutan and India and converges with Torsha River, that again converges with Brahmaputra River, which converges with Padma River, that merges with Bay of Bengal. Why we are too much describing the tributaries and the total path of the river? Because it is very much important from Bengal exam perspective, and we can easily face those types of questions in our paper. So we should know the resources and the tributary names and the path of the river in a very clear manner, as those rivers have been come into the news. Next, Corolla River. The Corolla River is being originating from Vaikuntapur forest, flows down to Teesta River. We can easily understand that those rivers are in the North Bengal section. Next, come to the another river, that is Mayurakshi River. Mayurakshi River, also called More River, is a major river in Jharkhand and West Bengal, India, with a long history of devastating floods. It has its source on Trikut Hills. The source is very much important in Jharkhand state. It flows through Jharkhand and then through the districts of Birbhum and Murshidabad in West Bengal before flowing into the Hooghly River. Then Silavati River. The Silavati River originates near the Purulia district of West Bengal. It flows in an almost southeasterly direction through the districts of Bankura and Paschim Medinipur. The Silavati joins the Darakweshwar River near Ghatal and afterwards is known as Rupnarayan. It finally joins the Hooghly River, which empties into the Bay of Bengal. So the mouth is very important. We also remember the mouth, where the river actually ends. And next come another news, and it's also an exercise. So this is Malabar exercise. It's a very popular exercise, and in this exercise, the Quad forces are involved. What are the Quad forces? We frequently have come across these types of Quad term, and what Quad stands for. What is actually a coalition of some governments. Which are the governments? The countries that are not the governments, the country that are involved in the Quad forces are Japan, India, Australia, and USA. And what forces is involved in the Malabar drill? So the top-notch Malabar naval exercise, which is the most visible manifestation of the expanding military interoperability among the Quad countries in the crucial Indo-Pacific region, will be conducted off Australia. That means the venue is very much important. But here is in the news, which are the facts that need to be remembered? That Malabar exercise edition. What is the edition of this time Malabar exercise? 27th edition. First, when it was conducted? It was first conducted in 1990 between India and US. For the first time, only India and US jointly participated in this exercise. And next, in 2015, Japan attached with them. So Japan meet with them, and this time India, US, and Japan were participated in this exercise. And in 2020, Australia joined with them. India, US, Japan, and Australia. Since then, India, US, Japan, Australia, the four countries were participated in the exercise. Present venue is Australia. Purpose is free, open, and rules-based international order across the entire Indo-Pacific. That in the Indo-Pacific region, a free, open, and international order can be maintained. This is the main purpose to conduct this exercise. Previous venue was Japan, and also another relevant term is talisman sabri. What is talisman sabri? And this is very contextual in the respect of this news. Another exercise of Australia, that is talisman sabri. So talisman sabri is another exercise of Australia with Japan. It's also a tri-service exercise where India was invited. Another exercise, another news that is very much important is India and US set to take forward civil nuclear sector cooperation. And this news is fact-based. And here is the only fact to remember is India and US nuclear sector cooperation agreement was signed in which year? And the year is 2008. Next, come to the news that in G20 also these types of cooperation has been thought about. This cooperation is on UPI payment system exploration and UPI payment system expansion in the neighboring countries of India. So we now know that G20 presidency is under India, and now the various G20 meetings have been taken place in various places of India. And in respect of that, I can say that recently G20 cultural ministries meeting was being held in very popular place of Madhya Pradesh, that is at Khajuraho. And also the G20 finance and central governors meetings was held in Bengaluru. And where the finance ministry's meeting was held, there also the IMF president Christina Lagarde and also the World Bank's president David Malpass were present. Both of them were present. And the main key issue of discussion was the UPI payment system distribution and its expansion. That is the main digital payment gateway of India, and also the collaboration with another neighbor countries to formulate and to regulate their digital payment systems with us, and to make a joint venture between our countries. And also there is another point was discussed in this finance ministers meeting, was to make a wholesale international regulation based digital payment system infrastructure build up. And this was mainly focusing on the cryptocurrency infrastructure. Already we know that our central bank RBI has launched a central bank digital currency, and this is a very security concern has been raised to formulate this type of currency. So India seeks various regulatory mechanisms from IMF and the security mechanisms, various security mechanisms that need to be put in place to broadcast this type of central bank digital currency. India seeks various types of suggestions from international monetary organizations and World Bank regarding that. So there is a very strong and secure interbank digital currency can be formulated in India, and the digital currency, especially cryptocurrency, can be formulated in India with a very security mechanisms in place. So these were some points that were discussed in this G20 finance ministers meeting in Bengaluru. And now come to the news. The news is talking about a collaboration between Singapore and India to make a joint venture in their digital payment system. India's UPI and Singapore's Pay Now tie up to provide instant fund transfer between users in both countries. So where the collaboration is allowing us to transfer up to rupees 60,000, Singaporean dollar 1,000 a day. So there is a payment gateway joint collaboration that allows UPI and Singapore's Pay Now to tie up in the domain, and in this case the Indian contingents persons or Indians can be allowed to send 1,000 Singaporean dollar or rupees 60,000 in terms of Indian rupees per day. Next, come to another appointment section news. The government on Monday approved the appointment of BVR Subramaniam, former Commerce Secretary, as the CEO of Niti Aayog. We know recently the CEO of Niti Aayog was replaced. So much more before Amitabh Kant was the CEO of Niti Aayog, then it was replaced by Parameswaran Iyer, and now it was again replaced by BVR Subramaniam. So where the Parameswaran Iyer, who will be the executive director to the World Bank, the another place of CEO Niti Aayog was taken by BVR Subramaniam. So the new CEO of Niti Aayog was BVR Subramaniam, and he was former Commerce Secretary also. Next, come to another exercise between India and Uzbekistan. We know that exercises or military exercises are very important that we can see in our exam papers. So India, Uzbekistan begin 2-week military exercise in Pithoragarh. So the venue is very important. Facts to remember here: military exercise between India and Uzbekistan. The exercise name is Dust Leak, and the venue was Pithoragarh in Uttarakhand, and it was a 14-day tenured exercise, and the edition is 4th edition. Come to the next news. Government asks all states and union territories to make 6 years minimum age for class 1 admission. So following the National Educational Program 2020, that was the National Education Policy 2020 that was come into place to formulate a multidisciplinary educational approach to make the children more to generate or to take up any types of skill sets and to acquire any types of skill sets, and also to build up a strong foundational and numerical capability among them, and also the reasoning capability among them. We know that the new education policy 2020 have been already formulated, and these under the education policy, government instructed all states to align a process for the class 1 admission, and in this case the minimum age for class 1 admission was pegged at 6 years. So as per alignment requirement to new educational policy, National Educational Policy 2020, Center directed all states and union territories to fix minimum age for admission to class 1 at 6 years. Next, come to another news that ADB pledges $25 billion for India's infra, social and green needs. It was a proposal. We know the various types of international financial organizations and associations extended their assistance to us to build our infrastructural needs, or also to help in our financial requirement. So this time ADB, as per alignment, ADB this time. So this is another part. We don't need this part come to the slide in a wrong way, but we can ignore it. We read the news under the slide. The PM Gati Shakti here. Another relevant thing is, let us read the news first. The Asian Development Bank Tuesday committed up to $25 billion for the next 5 years to fund India's infrastructure creation under the PM Gati Shakti initiative, as well as social development and climate action to help the country meet its priority development needs. Here, the term Gati Shakti has been come. So we need to know that little bit about the Gati Shakti scheme. The PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan was launched in October 2021 with a vision to enable mechanisms for coordinated planning and to provide a bird's eye view of plan development to all the ministries for holistic and integrated development. So Gati Shakti implies the main thing that it implies the collaboration between various ministries or machineries under the central government. We should know about ADB up to some extent, that ADB was formulated. It's an international monetary helping organizations, and also it was formed in 19 December 1966, and multilateral development bank the type is, and it was formed under a treaty, and the headquarters is Mandaluyong, Metro Manila, Philippines, and regions are Indo and Pacific. The member countries are 68, and the present president is from 2020, 17th of Jan থেকে. Present president is Masatsugu Ashikawa. And we can also see the countries in the left side. The outside regions are denoted by blue color, and the Asia Pacific regions are denoted in the map by green color. Next, come to another news, that top Swiss delegation on India visit to take forward the FTA talks. So here the main purpose of the news discussion is that what is FTA? Very frequently we have heard about the term FTA. So we should know about this term. The FTA means free trade agreement. What is free trade agreement? A free trade agreement or treaty is an agreement according to international law to form a free trade area between the cooperating states. So we can know that it helps between the states. So there are two types of free trade agreement. One is bilateral agreement and another is multilateral agreement. In bilateral agreement, the two countries are engaged in a free trade process or free trade zone. And in the multilateral agreement, more than two countries are participated in a free trade agreement. The main feature of the free trade agreements are preferential treatment of partners, fair treatment of investors, lowering of traffics and quotas, so they can exempt from various types of duties when they are engaged in trade between the countries, and also availing new goods and services. Also, they can avail of the goods or services from another countries, and they also export their preferential goods and services in the other countries. Another news is very important, that is the Bollywood star Ayushmann Khurrana appointed as UNICEF India National Ambassador. So ambassador related news we can easily find in our questions paper, and in the context of this we can discuss about the organization UNICEF. UNICEF, originally called the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund in full, now officially United Nations Children's Fund. The emergency is eliminated from the term. So before it was called United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. Now it's called United Nations Children's Funds. It's an agency of the United Nations responsible for providing humanitarian and developmental aid to children. And the headquarters is at New York, United States. It was formed in 11th of December 1946, and present head is Catherine M. Russian. So here we end, and if you like the session, please like the video and also share with your friends so they can also avail of the news very easily I am trying to cover most of the news from Times of India or Wikipedia, and also in the next sessions I will try to cover up the news that also come in the another newspapers like Hindu or Economic Times. I will try to cover most of the news in my another upcoming sessions. In the upcoming week, I might not be available to cover up the news because I will not be present for some time. But if you like my sessions, please give me comments and please let me know that you are liking the sessions. And if you like the sessions, I will be encouraged to formulate more such sessions for you. And in the upcoming sessions, I will try to improve my speech delivering quality, because for the first time I'm trying to formulate the sessions, but as much as possible I am trying to make those videos very informational. Please focus on the information and rather my speaking capacity, because I am just new in the domain. I am trying to uh, improve myself, but your inspiration is the need of the hour. So please like the session and give it a thumbs up, and also share with your friends and subscribe my channel to follow up my channel also. Thank you. This is all for the session today.